could be alone between city lights. We don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream, and a happy Monday evening to you. Very good to be with you here. Going to talk FPV. Talk about drones. I gotta get myself into a different bucket. I gotta teach YouTube that I'm not just about the FPV beta flight content, but I'm about, I don't know what else. Then I would have to make content about other things. I'm not sure I really wanted to. I'm not sure I want to do that either. So, I don't know. I guess what I'm doing is working. You're always hungry for more. Maybe that's a mistake, you know? Maybe that's a mistake. You know? Right? That's the lesson. That's the lesson that we can learn from No Face in Spirited Away. If you don't know what Spirited Away is, boy, you are in for a treat. That's the lesson we can learn from No Faces. You don't always have to be hungry for more. Because if you're constantly hungry for more... Oh, they're not going to show... They're not going to show any pictures from when he's... Oh, well, bad things happen. You eat too much, consume too much, grow too big, lose control of yourself. You gotta, maybe have some balance. A little philosophy here to start us off on the stream instead of talking about FPV. In addition to talking about FPV. I just look at those other streamers or those other YouTubers and they are getting more views than me. And I'm like, oh, I need views. I guess I don't have a lot to complain about, though. And one reason I don't have a lot to complain about is you guys showing up here for the stream and, making it work. It's an interesting coincidence, not a coincidence, I guess, that I'm wearing a shirt today from Fly High FPV. Great little Metallica ripoff. It's interesting that I'm wearing that shirt because Fly High FPV, was it Blunty? It's Fly High, right?
Yes.
Yes. Fly High FPV got into a little kerfuffle with Meps King Motors. Did he email? He emailed me some info about it. No. Hang on, it's in my other email inbox. This Meps King, I don't know what to make of this Meps King company. Yes.
Just a warning, don't dox Fly High, because he sent us an address in one of those
Well,
pictures.
apparently we're not, I mean, okay, but apparently we're not the ones who are going to dox him. Apparently Meps King doxed him.
I still want to give him dox twice.
Now, Fly High FPV, in case you don't know, Fly High FPV is a company. They make drone parts and stuff. They also have some pretty cool T-shirts, which is what I'm wearing. But they sell all kinds of things. Where's their apparel? Swag. That's good. It's going to be. They got some cute swag. They got a Bardwell shirt as well. If you're interested, and this is just, free promotion. I'm not like getting sponsored or anything. I guess he did give me the shirt, so technically I am sponsored. Fair enough. If you're interested in picking up this shirt, it's you can pick it up on flyhighfpv.com, as well as, I'm noticing some common trends in these shirts, though. Yeah. Fly High FPV. Okay. Nah, I don't know what it might be. I don't know what it could be. There's something about these shirts that I don't know. Yeah, they're having a bit of a kerfuffle with Meps King Motors. Now, Meps King, in case you don't know, I'm hesitant to even show their website because I don't want it to come off like I'm promoting them. Meps King makes motors. Fine. There's nothing Okay, can I see your website? No. There's nothing controversial about that. But they first gained attention when, I know that Darren Allett reached out to me, but he's not the only one, with their contract that they give to companies or people who they sponsor. Let me see if I can find the stuff he sent me. Oh, we've had a lot of conversations, Darren and I, so finding his... Oh, is this it? Oh, no, we've had too many conversations. I'll never find his... Oh, here we go. Meps King contract with Darren Allett. So this was sent to me by Darren Allett, who is another YouTube creator. Hello, can we open? Okay, we got to start Microsoft Word. It's going to take a minute. Any minute now. Is it up? Yeah. And Darren sent me this, but I have seen similar language from other people. So this is the contract that Darren alleges that Meps King sent him in exchange for 4 motors was the offer. I don't know, maybe it was more than 4 motors. Party B should provide 2 5 to 10 minute dedicated review videos on the channel. Unboxing, selling points. Strong and durable 6082 aluminum alloy. That's not even the best aluminum alloy. Anyway, so we've got, key points. Comprehensive review. Fine. Nothing crazy about that. It's a little weird to get 2 videos out of one. I think they want separate videos for the 2306 versus the 2207. That's a little weird. To get 2 videos for one set of motors. That's a little weird, but okay. Great. I've just doxed Darren Allett. Oops. Hold on. Shh. Didn't expect that his address would be in here. I apologize for that. There you go. My bad. Blunty, why don't you tell me that was there? Party B should follow the schedule and script arranged by Party A. What? A script? Party B should provide unlisted videos and pictures to Party A before release, and Party A has the right to require modification of the video for vet or promotion purpose. Party B can't post the video without Party A's confirmation and can't reveal any information about the product before video posting. Party B should not damage the reputation of Party A's product. Party B violates the terms, they may terminate the relationship and not pay, blah, blah, blah. This is the bullshit part. This is complete bullshit. This is the manufacturer saying, we don't want a fair review. We don't want a fair review. We want you to just parrot our talking points and tell people our product is great. So, first of all, Darren, I apologize for doxing you. I don't know what to tell you about that. I'll go back and I'll try and blur that section of the live stream or cut it out. You guys be nice to Darren. Don't make me regret doing that. If you go to YouTube and you search for Meps King Motors, I think it's fair to assume that every review of the Meps King Motors that you see was made under those conditions. Now, the exception, I'm sure, is Chris Rosser. I'm sure that Chris Rosser did not sign any... Oh, you guys can't see what I'm doing.
He also said he did not, in the comments of that video.
He did not sign any contract. They simply sent him a motor and he tested it. Right? So, but when you see other people reviewing, like who is Brock Lee FPV? Brock Lee, I apologize. Don't know your channel. 584 views, 1.6K subscribers. They're reviewing. Do you think that Brock Lee said to Meps King, no, I will not sign your exploitative contract? And Meps King went, oh shit, we can't, okay, he's got us over a barrel. No. Again, I don't want to sound insulting. Well, I probably do. That's whenever you say something like that, you probably do sound like the thing you don't want to sound like. But Brock Lee, with 1.6K subscribers, to get these motors, probably signed the deal. And if he hadn't signed the deal, probably Meps King wouldn't have sent it to him. Probably, right? And I think that's true for these other reviews as well. I think we can assume that basically all of these reviews from all of these YouTubers... for Meps King Motors, all the promotion that you're seeing is done under this type of contract that Darren Allett showed me and others, where Meps King says, you can only say nice things and we need to pre-approve everything you say, which is not an honest review. Okay? Blunty, do you know where we could find the Rotor Builds article that they ripped off? Like, where is that on their webpage? Do you? I
On
mean,
their
I don't know.
blog.
Where's their blog?
So a lot of these articles are either from an AI-generated website, or these are from different people's like write-ups. So there's different websites that they've pulled, basically just copied and pasted the text. They've changed a little bit of it, and then put it into their website or on a like sister website that kind of links back to them. That's what it seems like anyway.
Right. And we don't know for a fact that they haven't gotten permission to use this content, but like I don't think they did. I think what they're doing is they're building up their blog by stealing content from other sources and or using AI generated content. One of them was specifically a copy paste of a Rotor Builds build, which was like clearly they didn't get permission from that for that. I would assume. So they're doing some shady shit. And now they've got this thing going on with Fly High FPV, where Fly High said some negative things about them, and they lost their gosh dang mind. Meps King showed his address. What a terrible thing to do. Show somebody's address. He says they doxed him. And they're just, I don't know. I don't know jack shit about Mepsking motors. That's the other thing. The motors don't seem like ultra high-end motors. Someone suggested that this was the same company that made another brand of budget motors that weren't very notable in the past. I don't know if that's true. Looking at the motors, Fly High said they claimed that they were Unibel motors, but that they're not Unibel motors, that they're just hiding the seam. There's a lot of shenanigans, and I think the thing that most people are reacting to is Mepsking's response to Fly High, where they seem to have really just flipped out on him, and their whole company is coming around and commenting on his stuff. So I don't know if these are great motors. Chris Rosser said they're they're very efficient motors. Okay. The company as a whole left a bad taste in my mouth. When I saw the requirements that they were making people sign, like, you can't have a contract that says in exchange for a review, you can only say nice things about our product. And we have to get full. I would never. I guess I shouldn't say never. It would take an extraordinary set of circumstances to get me to agree to let someone review my video and tell me I needed to change it. Like, I could imagine a scenario where I said to somebody, I will let you look at the video and give me your feedback before I release it. Especially if it was a very technical topic where I think I might have a technical detail wrong. I definitely know for a fact there have been times when I have, as a courtesy, showed a video to a company before I released it. Not so that they could say, you said bad things about our products, but just because I valued their feedback on my content. But I can't imagine a scenario where I would let them tell me that I wasn't allowed to release the video if I didn't say only positive things. That's complete bullshit. And the AI generated and stolen content doesn't make me feel great too. So now Fly High comes along and he says he's having a big conflict with them, and I'm like, sure, not a big surprise. So, and their motors don't seem like oh wow, amazing motors. They seem like, fine, cheap motors. What do they sell for? Do they sell through any resellers or only direct? I think it looks like they might only be direct. Motors. $20. Nah, come on. $20 direct? Shut the heck up. No, shut up. Come on. Like, first of all, selling direct from the manufacturer, if it's a $20, that would mean that this is a $30 motor, and it isn't. Right? This is a $25 or $30 motor when you add retail margin. So if you're going to only sell direct, this needs to be, a $15 motor. And at that point, I'd probably buy an Emax Eco, which I know is a damn good motor. So that's my take on this. The company is super shady, and the product doesn't seem spectacular, so skip it. Boom! That's where we're at. Okay, that's what we're going to... actually, I was going to say that's what we do here. That's not what we do here. We actually answer your questions. I just am ranting about Mepsking for 15 minutes. No, what I actually want to do is answer your questions. I'm going to be answering your questions here in the YouTube chat. You leave the questions, and it's Blunty. Will queue them up for me. We got a queue already. And, yeah, they claim they have over 100 R&D engineers working on their team, Steve Trix says. Yeah, I don't know what that could possibly mean, but that's obviously nonsense. I'll be answering questions from you beautiful folks in the Discord. And if you want to make sure that I get to your question, hit the $ down here at the bottom, leave a super chat. That is the only way to be sure I read your question during the stream. But as always, everyone is welcome to email me. jb@joshuabardwell.com is my email. And if I don't get to your question on stream, please don't get your feelings hurt or get upset or feel rejected. Just go ahead and email me and I'll get back to you. Okay, so let's start with these questions. Steve Tricks wants to know, any tips for getting a broken bell screw out of the shaft? Can I fly the motor without the screw, or am I asking for trouble? Steve Tricks, I thought you posted a picture, Steve. Steva Tricks? Steve Tricks? Hello? Here's what's going on. Okay, so what we got here. Oh, you're fucked, dude. You're fucked. Nope. New bell time. You can, believe it or not, you can fly the motor without the screw. As long as you don't do any aggressive moves, the magnets themselves will hold it on. I have done this by accident at least once. And then while I was flying, pew, the bell went flying. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't put that screw back in. It can be done, but it's not a good idea and you shouldn't do it. In theory, there are tools that might get this screw out. The tool that I'm thinking of is called an easy out. And I think it's questionable. I'm not even sure how small they get. Will it mess up the threads? It might mess up the threads. I think it's a complete long shot. And if you don't already own an easy out set, I don't think you should buy one just for this. But I think you're boned, dude. I don't know how you could possibly get that out. So, Graggle wants to know, what's the difference between FCC and LBT in a radio? FCC is for basically everywhere in the world except for Europe. LBT is for Europe. LBT stands for listen before talk. There is a regulation in Europe that has to do with it's a 2.4 gigahertz band where before they transmit, they have to listen to make sure that no one else is transmitting or some other nonsense. It's not nonsense. It's just there's a different rule in Europe, and LBT stands for that rule. LBT will generally, I think it reduces the output power of the radio. So I shouldn't say most, but a lot of people in Europe still run the FCC firmware. They are breaking the rules. I don't think it's that big of a deal, though. Red FPV says he can drill out the screw and then rethread the shaft. Red FPV is a machinist. For us normal humans, that is probably not worth the luck, not worth the chance of just buy a new bell, right? Daniel Harmon says, hey, I need help replacing the stack in the iFlight Nazgul HDV2 to replace the Success F7 and 40 amp ESC. Does it have to be 20 millimeters? Whether it has to be 20 millimeters or not depends on your frame. You have the Nazgul V2, and I believe the Nazgul V2 frame has 30 millimeter mounting. Because they went to 20 millimeter mounting in the Evoque. Right? I'm pretty sure that's the case. Machinists aren't normal humans. I mean, I don't mean that as an insult. But no, have you ever met a machinist? They're not normal. Anybody who looks at something and goes, that's like 0.003 of an inch out. No normal human cares about 0.003 of an inch. Only machinists do. They're not normal. So like this is the Nazgul V2. I'm pretty sure that takes a 30 millimeter stack. Are you suggesting that the original factory stack is 20? Anyway, I would just get the latest iFlight stack and use that. You know, or frankly, you don't have to go with an iFlight stack, but an iFlight stack, if you have plugs on your receiver and your camera and stuff, instead of being direct soldered. I can't tell if this one came plugged or soldered. It's a little hard to tell. But the plugs will work with the new flight controller, probably. So I'll probably just get another iFlight stack, whatever the latest is. Hammer Dinny asks, should we continue to support iFlight? Thank you for a $2 super chat. I will be getting to the super chats in just a few minutes. So if you want to get in on that block of questions and know that I'm going to get to your question soon and not like 20 minutes from now, this would be a good time to leave a super chat. Hammer Denny, should we continue to support iFlight? I don't want to take over this stream with topics that some people find what some people would rather not have on the stream, topics like politics and war and so forth. I have feelings about that. I don't shy away from those feelings, but I also don't shove them in your face, because some people come here to talk about FPV, and I want to respect that mostly. So I had the video that I put up about the iFlight drones that appeared in the video, and I said pretty much all that I want to say about that in that video. The question of whether to support iFlight is, at the end of the day, up to you. My takeaway is that most of the people watching this probably would continue to support iFlight. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll have to go watch the video. But if you support Ukraine, then the people who people from Ukraine who are tied to that sort of thing say, we also buy iFlight drones, and please don't make a big stink about this, because we would like to keep doing that. So the Ukrainian side says, please don't boycott iFlight. Just let it go. If you support Russia, well, I'll keep it non-political. You're probably happy that iFlight drones showed up in a Russian video, and why would you boycott Russia? So good for you. And if the only person who would boycott iFlight about this would be a person who you'd have to make a few leaps to get to a place where you're like, and therefore screw iFlight. I think that those leaps are not supported by evidence. So I would say that most people watching this, unless you just are mad that their drones are being used in that way at all, but then how could they even prevent it? You'd have to believe that they could prevent it and be mad that they didn't. And I think that's not likely. So the moderators are in the chat, and we're not going to go down this road to a nasty, unhappy place in the chat. But I did feel like respecting the super chat by answering the question.
Also, just to be clear, we have another video about it on the Clips channel from the news, where we talked about this in another set of details. So any takes you need are all there, already done.
Yep. No, we will not be talking about the protocols of the elders of Zion. That's the kind of thing that we will not be talking about on this channel. That's the line, and I get to say where the line is because it's my channel. So that's the line. That's definitely over the line. Okay. Let's move on. Steve Tricks. Let's do some super chats. We'll get the super chats. Steve Tricks says the plug broke off this T-Motor 60 amp Alpha ESC. There doesn't seem to way to solder to the flight controller. Can it be repaired? Steve Tricks, do you have a picture in the chat, Steve Tricks? You got all kinds of super chats today, man. You are having some problems. Do you have a picture of the plug that broke off, dude? I see you have a picture of your busted motors. I don't think so. If the plug ripped off and the pads are intact, you can solder directly to the pads. The pads are usually pretty tiny. Some manufacturers underneath the plug will put a set of solder pads specifically for this purpose. But if the manufacturer didn't give you solder pads, then there still are tiny little solder pads that the pins were soldered to. And oftentimes when the plug rips off, the pads don't lift and you can solder to them. It's very difficult, but it is doable and it may save the flight controller. As far as soldering a new plug on, that also might be possible by someone with some soldering skills. But again, it's going to be pretty challenging. I've had okay luck in the past. Direct soldering wire to the pads. You just need the tiniest, thinnest wire and you have to solder it on somehow without bridging them. It's pretty hard, but it can be done. Continuing the super chats. Jair.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Real quick, just because it's relevant, he showed pictures of the ESC on the top and bottom, and I definitely do not see a way to access it without either pulling off that shield or something. Oh,
I see. Yeah. I mean, the plug ripped off, but the pads are going to be underneath the shield, is what you're saying. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to get to.
You'll have to pull off the heat shield, which again, wait, did he say the flight controller or the ESC? He said the ESC. Yeah, that's a bummer. Continuing our super chats, APN Films asks for the best Tiny Whoop running 03. Thank you for a $2 super chat. In my opinion, there is no Tiny Whoop that runs the 03, and there never will be. Well, I should never say never. Tiny Whoop to me is in the 65-75 millimeter class. I would question whether 85 millimeter is a Tiny Whoop. And those are too small. The weight of the 03 is just too much. Like, technically, you probably could build one that would fly, but it's like, I wouldn't even waste my time with it. Now, some of you will know that I have a website, fpvknowitall.com. And since it's my chat, I can spam the chat. I can spam the chat all I want. And if you go to the Tiny Whoop page on my website, you get to see what Tiny Whoops I recommend. And there's a bind and fly page, and if you scroll down, sure enough, you will find the iFlight Alpha 885. Wait a minute, I thought I said 85 millimeter isn't really a Tiny Whoop in my book. Well, the iFlight Alpha 885 is the smallest possible quad that carries a Caddx Vista video transmitter. And so we're going to technically let it slide in as a whoop, even though I don't really think it is. Crafted Quads. Oh, Crafted Quads. Is that a custom build or a bind and fly, dude? Crafted Quads has an 03. That's a naked 03, I assume, in a 75 millimeter. Aerobrat points out that IGAO is 85 millimeter is legal in IGAO, therefore 85 millimeter is a whoop. Does anybody know a bind and fly that has 03? What is the smallest platform that is a bind and fly with an 03? Abraham, the Odonata is definitely not a Tiny Whoop. Come on. Come on! Come on! What's the smallest Mobula 803? Happy Model has one? Okay. 85 millimeter, 03. Okay. Axis Flying C20. That's a 2-inch Cinewhoop. Come on. That's not. What size is that 2-inch wheelbase? Is that 95? Is that 85? What's the wheelbase of a 2-inch? So like, I think it's 85. It is 85. Is this an 85 millimeter? That's not a Tiny Whoop though. It's not a Tiny Whoop. Okay, so I would steer you towards something like the Mobula 8. Now, something like the C20 is intended as a Cinewhoop. It's designed to carry a camera. So it's bigger, heavier, and has more cargo capacity. There's also the Beta FPV Pavo Pico, which is worth a look. And these are going to be some of the smallest platforms that carry the O3 air unit. And so that's the direction I would steer you if you're thinking to yourself, I want an air unit. I want an O3 Tiny Whoop. Now, this right here is a home build that is more like legitimately a Tiny Whoop. But it's going to be pretty heavy. That's the thing. All of these guys are going to be pretty heavy, and you're going to get a lot of compromises in their handling compared to something in the, say, 95 millimeter or 3-inch size. All right, great question. Oh, Blunty, that one's going on the Livestream Clips channel for sure. Don't you think?
Definitely.
That's a great question. In case you guys don't know, you guys know this, right? I have a Livestream Clips channel, Joshua Bardwell Livestream Clips. And basically, Blunty cuts out highlights from the live streams and puts them up. And if you guys miss any part of the live stream, this is a great way to make sure you're not missing. We just crossed 10,000 subscribers. Yay! Yeah. Bardaroda, good to see you. Good to see you there. Yeah, so... Alrighty. Continuing the super chats. We've got a $20 super chat here from Wolf. Oh, no, hang on. Jair Diggles, thank you for a $5 super chat. And Flow State FPV, thank you for New Zealand $1.69. Blunty, are those stickers or are those, do they have additional messages that you pinned? I think they're just
I could not
stickers.
find any additional messages.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Crap. Now I've lost the one. Can you re-queue the $20 one? Thank you, sir. Lobo FPV, thank you for a giant $20 super chat. I want to thank you for your help a few weeks ago via email. I caught the replay of yesterday's live stream, and you are spot on with your rant. Did I rant about remote ID yesterday, Blunty? Is that what? Was that?
Yeah, that was basically, that was a lot of the stream yesterday was remote ID.
Okay.
I would have guessed that was the rant.
Yeah, probably like 45 minutes. We'll try not to do that today. Yeah, I think I ranted about remote ID for like, I didn't rant about remote ID as much as I did rant about XJet. I feel bad doing that. I wish I could, well, anyway. I don't feel bad about what I said. I just feel bad that in the media world we live in, where people talk past each other through comment sections and live streams, you miss out on the opportunity to just kind of sit down and argue with each other in person. And I feel like we would get along if we were in the same room and wouldn't want there to be any rancor, because we're not. Despite the fact that I feel like if there's anybody in the world you could respectfully disagree with without making an enemy, though, it's XJet. He doesn't seem like the sort of sensitive generation where the minute you have any kind of conflict with him, he assumes that you're mortal enemies forever. So that's nice. Zays, thank you for a $5 super chat. Excluding the dislike button, what was your favorite YouTube feature that got removed? It was sort by oldest, except I think they brought it back. Let's find out. We'll go to one of my favorite YouTube creators, Video Game Donkey. And we go to videos. And yes, it's back! It is back! Sort by oldest. Because you can go back and you can look at their oldest videos. Jesus Christ, his oldest video is only from 12 years ago. You could go back and you can watch these people's oldest videos. My son, oh gosh, he used to frickin' love this guy. And it's so weird because, like, this guy, Dan, some of you who are parents probably know Dan TDM. Some of you kids probably grew up watching Dan TDM. That's how young some of my viewers are. This freaking guy, he makes Minecraft content, and right now he is a middle-aged man with at least one, maybe more children and a wife. And like, it drives me. I click on oldest and I go back. Originally, he didn't put his freaking face in his videos. I've gone back and looked at his oldest videos. Where did he start putting his face in his videos? See, you couldn't do this when YouTube got rid of sort by oldest. 9 years ago. It can't have been just 9 years ago that he... How long was he? 10 years ago? 10 years ago. Jeez. He's not even middle-aged. Is that possible? Here we go. He started putting his face in stuff.
Hey, I think that's an add-on that you have that's creating the oldest button.
I heard they...
I don't have
Reddit
it.
said that no,
chat.
they're just rolling it out selectively. Reddit said that they brought it back. It's not. I don't think it's an add-on.
Oh, weird. Okay.
But that's my... Yeah.
Okay.
I think they roll features out selectively sometimes. I used to go back and look at this punk 9 years ago. Only that seems younger than that. Watch these old videos from people and look like how did they get started on their channel. It's really great. Just pick whoever you like and go to their channel. Go to their videos, and then sort by oldest. If you don't have that feature, maybe you'll get it back when YouTube rolls it out. And just look at their oldest content and be like, huh, interesting. I love doing that. I really do. So that's my favorite feature that they got rid of, and now I think are bringing back. Jeremy Foster, thank you for a $5 super chat, and I assume a sticker. Max Miner, thank you for a $5 super chat. Jeremy Foster, here we go. How can I get you to program my tank drone? Thank you for a $2 super chat. Jeremy, I almost never do like paid builds. I can barely keep my own quadcopters in the air. Never mind getting paid to program somebody else's. I really prefer to teach other people how to do it. Blunty is like setting up his flight controller, the kind of thing you would do remotely over a Zoom call.
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay. So that's what I would say, Jeremy Foster. So both Blunty and I have a service for like one-on-one calls. Although frankly, Blunty, if I was going to charge him for a one-on-one call, I probably would just be better off saying, just send me the drone. Because I could do it way faster than I could walk you through it and we just get it done with. So, okay. But Blunty's one-on-one call rate is only $50 an hour, which is completely reasonable. Now, Blunty, you don't take product, though, do you?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it shouldn't take us very long to set up a drone to be flyable.
Yeah. So
I mean,
Blunty,
we don't even have to go on a call. I mean, half the time you can just send me screenshots of your setup and I can tell you what to click and we're good to go. You know what I mean? It's not like it's that difficult to set up a drone. So yeah, we can handle it.
Head on over to... I've been sending a ton of people over to you lately. I don't know if it's just just me getting... When I would normally walk somebody through something painstakingly, I've been a little bit more likely to just go, I think it's time to throw you a one-on-one. So yeah, go to itsblunty.com, reach out to Blunty, contact him, and he will walk you through it. That's my recommendation.
As we move on to the next real quick.
Yeah.
You missed, Max Melner has a chat. It just wasn't showing up in the thing.
Oh, okay.
You've got it.
All right, well, let me get this one.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, yeah. I'll get that one next. 413 FPV has a 1S AIO. The Beck is dead. I have Beck chips to bring 3.0 volts up to 5 volts, 2 amps. So I run the 1S battery in on the chip, and then the 5 volt out goes where? To any 5 volt on ground to restore power to the board. Yes, you need the 1S battery is going to the input on the regulator, and the 5 volt out from the regulator goes to any 5 volt and ground to restore power to the board. That is correct. That is correct. Okay, Blunty, let's get this question from Max Melner. Curious of the best freestyle sub 250 bind and fly. Bind and fly. Sub 250. Well, the first thing I always do is check my own website to see what I recommend, because I put some thought into this. Over at fpvknowitall.com, we've got sub 250 gram FPV drones and parts, and bind and flies. Now, I feel like these recommendations need to be updated a little bit. I think there's some better ones that I don't have here. If you guys have any suggestions, by all means, probably the best thing to do is email me, jb@joshuabardwell.com. Because, like, my favorite currently is the GEP-RC Smart 3.5, but I'm pretty sure, like, I'm not sure it's widely in stock, except at GEP-RC. Oh, no, it's in stock. Okay. Yeah, okay. So that's a solid one. Like, I think it's really good. It's just been a while, so I bet there's a better one. What about the Crux 3.5? So we have the Crux 3.5 on our toothpick page. To me, the Crux 3.5 is in the toothpick category because of its lighter weight. So that's a little bit of a... That is on the site, but it's not in the sub 250 page. So when we did the sub 250 page, we wanted to focus on stuff that was... Like, obviously, a 65mm tiny whoop is sub 250, but that's not usually what you mean when you say sub 250. Usually when you say sub 250... You mean something pretty close, just barely under 250 grams. So, for freestyle, GEP-RC Smart 3.5. That's a good choice.
He's added more difficulty. He wants walk snail and express LRS. Is that even... That seems tough.
There's not a lot. So the only place that I can think of where you're going to get a walk snail bind and fly is Rotor Riot. But I guess the Vision 40. So the Vision 40 is more in the whoop category than what I would call sub 250. But the other one is the Skylight. And that I don't think is sub 250. So, like, this is pretty solid. The 3.5-inch Skylight without ducts is a pretty solid little freestyle quad, and you can get it with walk snail, but it's not sub 2. I'm like really sure it's not sub 250. I don't know. Unlike, I guess I'm not 100% sure, but just looking at it, I don't think it's below 250 grams. So I guess I would steer you to the Vision 40 if you absolutely need a sub 250 with walk snail. There's the Flywoo Firefly 2S. That also can be purchased with walk snail. It's pretty solid. Again, not the first thing I would think of when I think of a sub 250. But it is under 250 grams and comes with walk snail. So, how's the Happy Model Bass line? Does it come with walk snail, though, does it? Does it? It, does it? Oh, it does. Well, I'll be. Isn't that something? Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about it. It looks like a solid design, and it could be good to fly. So that's the direction I would steer you. Okay. Continuing the super chats. We're going to try and clean out these super chats. We got about 5 more to go. If you want to keep me reading super chats, leave a super chat. If you want me to go back to the regular chat, don't leave super chats. But I'll keep reading them for the time being. Matthew Azevedo, thank you for $26 and covering the YouTube tax. Yeah, I don't know what % of super chats YouTube takes, but I appreciate whatever you choose to give. Thanks for the videos. Got me into the hobby and off the ground. That it means more to me. That's probably the most valuable thing when I think about, like, over my long career of YouTube. What am I most proud of? And sure, I don't have any videos with 2 million views like TronCat. I'm not saying I wouldn't like to. But what I'm most proud of is all of the people out there who say, I wouldn't be flying right now if it weren't for you. And that means a lot. So thank you so much, Matthew. Matt Sanders is recommending the Pavo Pico. I think that's an older topic. Thank you for a $2 super chat, Matt. Jair Diggles, thank you for a $2 super chat. What's a good website to get 3D printed parts from? So, Jair, do you mean, I think what you mean is you want to buy 3D prints, right? So if what you mean is you want to find STL files to download, Thingiverse is the old standby, but it's got some issues. Printables.com is the new hotness, but doesn't always have all the models from Thingiverse. So sometimes you can't find what you want on Printables, and you need to go to Thingiverse. But Printables is a little better. There's a one called Yegi, which is a 3D print search engine. So I don't know. Does Yegi search printables yet? Let's just search for GoPro mount. In fact, one of the things that's wrong with Thingiverse is that the search function is pretty bad. So a lot of times I use Yegi to search Thingiverse. Does Yegi search printables yet? I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that.
What if he was actually asking, where can I buy 3D printed parts from?
Right. So now you've got the STL and you want to buy 3D printed parts. The Brain 3D is one that comes to mind. Another one is Noozle 3D. Noozle 3D makes all the Rotor Riots prints. And the nice thing about Noozle 3D, I mean, they have other things too, but the nice thing about Noozle 3D is they actually make available the prints for all the Rotor Riot stuff. So like if you've got a Rotor Riot tank and you need a FPV camera mount, you could buy it, but you can also download it and print it yourself. If you, he hasn't done this one yet. So he said he hadn't finished uploading all the files yet. So unfortunately, he said if you need one, contact him and he'll make sure it gets added. But some of them have been added. Brain 3D, let's see. BMC 3D is another one that comes to mind.
Fly High FPV also does prints.
Do they do prints? I didn't know that. 3D prints. Everything is made to order and customizable. So, who else? Race Day Quads actually has a printing service where they will use their print farm to print something for you. So you could buy accessories that they have listed, but you can also send them a file and they will print it for you. And I think that's the questions. Who have I left out, chat? Who have I left out? Who is going to be like, Bardwell didn't mention me. I am insulted, and now he is my nemesis. Jack's 3D printing. GetFPV sells 3D prints, but I don't think they have a custom service where you can send them a print and they print it for you.
People are saying PCBWay has one.
I wouldn't buy from them. Here's why I wouldn't buy from them. PCBWay, they make PCBs, etc. Every company that's like a big company with a printer farm, I'm so skeptical that they're going to give you the result that you want. Like, I would want to buy from an FPV company who knows what I want from it and what I'm going to do with it, and a smaller company that's going to give a shit. Like, in the past, I've tested some, and I don't know PCBWay specifically, but in the past, I tested some 3D printing services, and the great big service just shipped it out to some printer and printed it and mailed it, and the quality was crap, and no one cared. Whereas these companies like Brain 3D, like Noozle, BMC 3D, and FlyHigh, like some even Race Day Quads, someone's going to look at the print when it comes off the printer and go, yeah, that's right. Or no, that's crap. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it right. Drone Co. Productions. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. FPV Custom. So these are all companies that will both print you stuff and take your files and print them for you if you don't have a printer yourself. So, great question. Continuing the super chats. Yeah, Mike Bergman says Yegi does search printables. Okay, good to know. Continuing the super chats. Probably a dumb question, but is it safe to leave my radio battery plugged into the radio? Thank you for a $5 super chat, Dr. Crazy. Yes, it is safe. Yeah, it's safe. Like, you could imagine a scenario where something inside the radio fails and short circuits the battery, which then causes the battery to light on fire. And if the battery had been unplugged, that wouldn't have happened. But that's not a super likely scenario. I'm not saying it's never happened. I can remember one email I got once upon a time where someone said, oh my God, my radio lit on fire while it was just sitting there. Maybe if the battery had been unplugged, that wouldn't have happened. But in general, everybody leaves their batteries plugged into the radio. And in general, they almost never like spontaneously light on fire. 413 FPV. I super chatted $10 and it disappeared. Blunty, did we miss something from 413 or did we go back and get it?
Nope, that's the one we got. I think he didn't know we were waiting to do super.
Gotcha. Thank you for $2. Thank you for $2 more. BJ Pinnell, thank you for a $5 super chat. What size motors and stacks should I use for a 10-inch build? Your QAVS JB edition was my first build 2 years ago and is still my daily driver. So what I always do in a situation like that is I try to look, so I don't know off the top of my head. What I try to do is look at what other people who are successful are doing. So for example, iFlight sells a 10-inch version of the Chimera. Let's look at what they have. I'm pretty sure they do. Cinelifters, Taurus X8. No. Chimera 9. Do they have a Chimera 10? I thought they had a Chimera. Nazgul XL10. That's what I'm talking about. So is this a 10-inch? Let's just confirm. The name suggests that it is. 10 by 4.5. Okay, so this is a 10-inch bind and fly from iFlight. Chances are good that whatever they've picked for their motor is a reasonable choice. Maybe it's not like the best, but it's a reasonable choice, and it'll start getting us in the ballpark. The motor that they've used is, I think it's a 31 millimeter, 3110. Okay, so 31 millimeter, and what we can also do is we can do the calculation. 10 millimeters high. No. 31 millimeters divided by 2. That's the diameter. That means the radius is 15.5. Square the radius times the height times 3.14 times pi. And that's the volume, the approximate volume of the motor. So now we have two pieces of information. It's a 31 millimeter motor with a volume of about 7,500 cubic millimeters. Now we're going to remember that. In addition, we're going to want the KV of the motor, which is going to give us a sense of approximately what KV to shoot for, and that's also pretty important. Zing 3110, show me the KV. No, you're not going to do it? F you. Come on. Come on. What KV? 900, 1250, or 1600? Oh, son of a... Does it have thrust table? Does it have a thrust table? Test report. Yes. Come on, baby. I'm going to find the 10-inch prop. Why do you not have a 10-inch prop? You sell a 10-inch quadcopter with this motor. How do you not have a test? So I'm going to guess 900 kV is what they use. For 6S, what voltage? 33 volts. That's 8S. Okay, so 900 kV for 8S. That must mean that 1250 kV for 6S? That seems high. 900 kV for tri-blade. Okay. Yeah.
There are people in chat saying both. Some people have 1250, it seems like, and some people have 900.
Guess it depends on if you're going for power or efficiency. All right. So no clear answer there. But let's just look at one more place. We'll go to Catalyst Machine Works and we'll look at their... What do they got for binding flies? Do they have a 10-inch? Here's their 9-inch. Their 9-inch, they have what motors? (28, 16, 1050 kV). Okay. So that's a little smaller motor for a 9-inch prop. 28, 16. Is that actually a smaller motor? Hang on. Check the motor volume. 28 divided by 2 is 14 millimeter diameter, or radius, squared, times 3.14, times 16. No, it's a much bigger motor. See? You always calculate the volume. 28, 16. That is almost 10,000 cubic millimeters. That's a much bigger motor. So now we're starting to dial in a kV range of about 900 to 1100 kV and a motor size of about 7,500 to about 10,000 millimeters cubed. And that's how I would approach this problem. By just looking at what other people are doing that works. And then it also helps to have a YouTube channel with 280,000 subscribers. So then you just look in your live stream chat and see what people are saying they do. I'll give you one more tip. This doesn't always work, but no. If you go to rotorbuilds.com, sometimes you can find builds. I wish that they would let you sort by size. Can you do that? I don't think you can. I wish they'd let you sort by prop size. Propellers. So what I would do is I would try to find some 10-inch props. I do this a lot, and it really frustrates me that they don't let you sort by size, by prop size. Sort by... So you can't sort in any meaningful way either to find the 10-inch props. But I would try to find a 10-inch prop here, and I would look at the motor that they used. Okay? All right. So that's how we would approach that problem. Continuing to read the super chats. Am I going to look at the Baby Ape Freestyle, says Sep. Nah, I'm not in a rush to do it. I'll tell you what I do have, though. That's the Darwin FPV quad. What I do have is this. I just got this in the mail. This is the Darwin FPV Johnny 240. It's a tough one. This is a 5-inch freestyle quad for like $225, I think. I don't think I can't find a cheaper 5-inch quad. I haven't even flown it yet, so I'm intrigued to find out. Does it not have a receiver? That's mildly annoying. Must have got it bind and fly. Oh, well. And I'm torn on whether I would rather have this Darwin FPV 5-inch for about $225 or like a Nazgul Evoke or a Nazgul V3 for like $270. It's only like $50 more, but I think it's a better quad, but I don't know. But I don't know about the Baby Ape Freestyle. Kim Fused has got a question. Thank you, Kim Fused, for a $5 super chat. 03 DJI unit lights up green but is not recognized via USB. No, Gardo may have hit my coax cable with the iron. No worries, Gardo is not in trouble. I'd be surprised if the camera coax cable cause the O3 not to like boot up at all, but not impossible. You could try disconnecting the cable from the O3 and see if that lets it boot up. But yeah, lights up green, but not. You've plugged in the battery, I presume. I know Kim. I'm sure you know this because you're no stranger. Excuse me. I think you're no stranger to the O3, but in case you're new to the O3, you have to plug the battery in before USB will. No. You have to do that before you can bind. USB will still work.
Can I just say real quick? We have another question that's exactly the same, so we just take it real quick.
Yeah.
Null Cure also says, my O3 unit is pretty new, been working without issue. It disarmed in the air and fell soft. No visible damage, and he's having the same symptom, essentially.
O3 won't connect, but shows a green light. I mean, that sucks. If the O3 won't connect, I mean, I would wonder if the power to it is messed up somehow. Like maybe it's not getting enough voltage or enough current. Yeah, that's where I would go. It seems DJI stuff is usually pretty durable, so it seems unlikely that it would just like fry the O3 in a light crash. But then nothing is impossible. Nothing's impossible. Matt Sanders wants to know, will the baby ape carry a Vista? Oh, I mean, the 3-inch? I am pretty sure that if you put a naked Vista on it, it will fly. I would definitely do a naked Vista, for the record. I'm pretty sure it would fly. I think that you would definitely notice the additional weight. But I think you could. The other thing is that you would need to change out the standoffs because I don't think you're going to have enough height. Are you going to have enough room to get it in the rear? That did not sound right. I don't know if you could fit it in the rear of the frame. I don't know if it would fit. I'm skeptical now that the more that I look at it, I'm skeptical that it would fit in the rear of the frame. Yeah. I think the motors and props would lift it if it had a naked Vista. I'm not sure it would fit in the frame. I think you probably would end up needing... The problem is if you needed to extend the vertical standoffs, then the camera plates wouldn't fit anymore and the whole front end would change. I think it could be done, but I think it would require a lot of compromises. Garter Rotor. Thank you for a $5 super chat. I could totally say I wouldn't be flying without JB. Thank you. Thank you for saving me from the Wizard X220 way back. Still one of my most popular videos, Wizard X220. Go figure. Fat Pastor, thank you for a $5 super chat. This is going to be the last super chat for now, and we're going to go back to the regular chat. Thank you guys for your generosity. You're welcome to keep leaving super chats, and I will get them in the next batch before too long. Fat Pastor says they posted a failsafe video on the Discord. Let's
patron only chat, and make sure you mute the audio.
Oh, great. Patron only chat. I see. Okay. Okay, what would cause this failsafe? Well, let me bring it up. What would cause this failsafe is losing connection. Let's see here. What do we got here? We've got LQ. That's good. That's going to be helpful. We got RSSI, presumably. Let's watch the failsafe happen. Nope, there it was. So what happened to the RSSI? Okay, RSSI went immediately to 0, and DBM went to negative 130. And then you immediately went into failsafe. There was nothing gradual about it, was there? Oh, it's slightly gradual. RSSI, the LQ dropped. Negative 68. I assume you're using Express LRS because the LQ is 6. And so you should have link much lower than negative 68 TBM. Negative 69. It drops off negative 71, 72, 73, 74. RX loss. That's a pretty abrupt drop off. Like, I don't think you're having an RSSI issue or you like flew behind a tree or something. To me, this feels like... Oh, and it came right back, didn't it? Look at that. It came right back. So I don't think this is an RF issue. This is my gut feeling is this is a hardware issue. We don't have an issue with the wiring between the receiver and the flight controller because telemetry kept coming. The flight controller, well, I feel like the way that the RSSI went down and the LQ tapered off, to me, said like if you just disconnect the wire, it's going to go from 100 to 0 with nothing in between. I would think.
Will it say 60 negative 130 if you disconnect the wire?
Yeah, it was odd to me that it continued to say RF mode 6 even when RSSI was 0. I don't know about that, Plenty.
I would suggest if that's, I'm not sure how what the case is, but if that is the case, that means the wire was connected because it's still getting the mode. It's just getting 0 LQ.
Yeah, but I don't know if it just remembered that.
Right.
You know, I don't, yeah. And then boom, it comes right back. It comes right back up. So to me, this is like, I don't even think it's an antenna problem. I think you could remove the antenna entirely and still be flying at without fail-safing at the distance that I'm guessing you're flying at. Maybe. Nasty FPV says the same thing happened to me when my ceramic antenna went bad on my Mobula 7. Maybe it's not impossible that it's the antenna. This is the built-in receiver on an all-in-one board. So maybe your antenna is not connected correctly. It's not a separate receiver. Is it it's a built-in? Yeah. I guess I would check the antenna on the flight controller. That's the best guess that I've got. If it's a ceramic antenna, it could have cracked loose. Yeah, Blinty.
Yeah, I'm not. The only thing I don't know is like we would have a lot more information if we knew what happens when you disconnect the wire from an ELRS RX onto the telemetry, right? Because then we can know if it's a brownout, for instance, or if the wire got disconnected. Like then would that telemetry change or not? I think is the question.
If it's a Mobula 8, though, isn't it an all-in-one? And so there isn't actually a separate receiver, which I just noticed. I was talking about the wiring.
Can the Beck still brown out that would power the SPI receiver? Or is the SPI powered like on 3.3 off the MCU rail? I'm not actually sure.
That's what I would assume. I think the whole flight controller would brown out before the receiver did. I mean, that's just a guess. If it's an SPI receiver, could it be an issue with like the CPU overloading?
Maybe. I would kind of expect the whole OSD to freeze, but with the way the scheduler works now, I would assume I think those are in different schedules. So maybe
I would expect the receiver to keep working before the.
Sure. I mean, I think that was the goal of the scheduler, was to make sure that this didn't happen. But
all right. Well, I hope that information is helpful. That is going to catch us up on Super Chats, and we are now going to go back to the regular chat and take some of those questions that backed up while I was paying the bills. Caden Armbruster wants to know, how quickly should I use my 6S batteries after charging them? Can I use them as long as 2 days after, or should I discharge them if I can't use them in under 24 hours? Caden, that there is no right answer to that question. The longer the batteries spend at full charge, the more they wear out and perform worse. However, cycling the batteries back to storage and back up again also wears them out. So I don't know what the exact break-even point is where you're doing more damage by leaving them charged versus doing more damage by discharging them and charging them back up again. To me, it's mostly a matter of convenience. It's just a hassle to take 10 batteries that I charged up and put them on storage and run them back down again and then charge them up again the next time I go to fly. So for me, it's usually a day or two. And then if I'm not flying in a day or two, I'm probably not flying in a week either. So I'll go ahead and put them in storage. But there isn't a definitive right answer here. And if you don't mind the hassle of bringing them back down to storage, it's probably better to bring them back down to storage because that little 2 amp discharge probably isn't hurting them very much. David V asks, why does my drone seem to float a long time after I bump the throttle hard? David, I want to introduce you to the concept of prop loading. Prop loading means that or disc loading. Disc loading is the term I'm looking for. Disc loading means that you take the weight of the quadcopter and you divide it by the surface area of the prop disc. So if you have a 5-inch prop that prescribes a circle, right? Pi r squared is the area of that circle. You multiply that by 4 props and you get a certain number of centimeters squared. And then you take the weight of the quadcopter and divide it by the centimeters squared of the prop disc. And that prop loading, or that disc loading, is one of the major factors in how floaty or how heavy the quadcopter feels. A quadcopter with a very low disc loading will be more jumpy, it will accelerate faster, and will float longer when you get off the throttle. So it's possible that you just have a very powerful, very lightweight quadcopter with large props for its weight. That's one answer. If you've been playing with the tuning, with the PID tuning, and you've jacked up the PIDs to really high levels, that can also cause the motors to not want to idle down after you raise the throttle. One of the signs of a dangerous PID tune is when you punch the throttle and then lower it, and instead of the motors coming back down, the motors and kind of want to keep flying. So one of the things I would ask is, when you lower the throttle, do the motors spool back down, but the quadcopter then floats? That's just a powerful, lightweight quadcopter. But if you punch throttle and you lower throttle and the motors don't come back down quickly, if they come back down slowly or maybe don't want to come down at all, that could be an issue of PID tuning or a mechanical problem. Magneto wants to know, why am I losing connection with my Express LRS receiver? I see a flickering 50 to 80% connection when next to it, and when flying, my controller says connection lost. Replace the receiver. Express LRS receivers are $15. There's a fair chance you have a bad receiver, and replacing the receiver will fix it. Or you could have a bad, some other problem, in which case replacing the receiver will rule out the receiver as the problem and let you move on to something else. So for $15 for a new receiver, that's easy troubleshooting, and maybe it'll fix the problem. OMYS wants to know, what will happen if we get caught flying with no remote ID? Okay. We can try to answer this question by looking at drone pilots that the FAA has interacted with in the past. And the general approach that the FAA seems to take is that, number one, they reach out to you and they try to educate you. I'm not saying it never happens that the FAA comes right out the gate with a fine. I'm not saying that they couldn't do that. but in general, and I don't know of a case where they've come right out the gate with a fine. And I know of several cases where they come out and they contact the pilot. They say, hey, we've had some reports about your flying. So this is the first call you get from the FAA. Hey, my name is so-and-so. I'm an FAA inspector. And we've had some reports about, usually it's a YouTube video they're complaining about. If you were flying without remote ID in the real world and Karen called the cops and the cops came and the cops said, show us your FAA card, young man or young woman. And then, like, at the end of that, the cops took your information and referred you to the FAA for investigation. That's how you would get a call from the FAA. So I guess the first thing we should say is that the police can't enforce FAA regulations. Only the FAA can do that. Only the federal government can do that. But what the police can do, security guards, police, whoever, is they can get your information and report you to the FAA on suspicion of breaking the regulations. Then the FAA can investigate. So you now get a call from the FAA. Hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm an FAA inspector. We've had a report that about this YouTube video or about this day you were flying in the park. And they may ask you questions. There was a video that Stinger Swarm made where they were it was Thanksgiving Day or Christmas Day, and they were diving buildings in Atlanta. And Stingy's told this story, so, I mean, I feel completely fine telling it. It's not like it's a secret. The FAA called him, and they said, hey, we understand that you were within 400 feet of a building. Therefore, you were fine to be doing this. We're just, as a courtesy, could you tell us, like, what safety precautions you took? And Stingy was like, for example, how did you make sure you weren't flying over people? And Stingy's like, yeah, it was Thanksgiving Day, so no one was at work. And we had spotters who were watching for people walking as we were diving to make sure we weren't, over anybody. We didn't fly over any traffic, yada, yada, yada. And the inspector said, well, cool, you're good. Next time, we would love it if you would show some of that stuff in your videos so people know what kind of, how you're doing it safely. That was the end of it. Sometimes they will call you and they'll say, hey, we think that there's been a violation. We think that you were flying and you didn't have remote ID. And in those cases, I've still seen, and obviously remote ID isn't a thing yet for most people. But I've seen cases where a content creator made a YouTube video and said, hey guys, in this video that I put out, it turns out that I was breaking the rules. And the FAA called me and asked me if I could make another follow-up video telling you guys that what I did was breaking the rules. And not like from a confessional standpoint, but the FAA would like you to know what the rules are. And so I'm going to use my platform to say, hey, this thing I did in this other video, turns out I shouldn't have done it. And thank you guys. If the FAA feels like they're not getting anywhere with you, then they may decide to try to fine you. And at that point, you can fight them in court. You can try to ignore them. You can, and hope that I don't know. I've heard of. I'm not sure if I was told this in confidence or if this was for public consumption, so I'm not going to say who this was, but I've heard of one case where someone got fined by the FAA and just ignored it, and then the FAA referred them to the FBI, and the FBI was like, I don't know, what do you want me to do? And then nothing came of it. So, Quad Doc suggests, just tell them it's your first day flying and you don't know what they're talking about. I mean, maybe. If you got caught driving a car without a license and a cop pulled you over and you said, sorry, officer, it's my first day. I didn't know I needed a license. That would not get you very far. Now, obviously, this is not the same situation, but maybe maybe that would help. I mean, it depends. It depends. You're technically in violation. If the cops come, you run. RC King 97. don't run from the cops. Like, don't run from the cops. I mean, worst case scenario, like all you need is a cop coming after you going, "Why are you running? Why are you running?" That's going to end up with you tased or shot or tackled or I don't know. Don't run from the cops. Just my advice. We need the equivalent of a screen-on timer for remote ID talk. Hey, somebody asked the question. I'd be careful with the belief that cops won't enforce FAA rules. If they want to, they will find something or anything to charge you with. Fair, but it will have to be a local ordinance, not an FAA regulation. They will make up bullshit local ordinances that they can enforce on you, though. You have the right to remain silent. Always remember that. True. For FPV pilots, the police are kind of aware this is a different hobby. Usually if you explain why you're flying a Banda, they just say wow and leave you alone. Valid. This is one of the... How about when the police come and ask me questions about my drone, I somehow lose control far away? This is... Like, let's say you're flying and you don't have remote ID and you get a tap on the shoulder. "Excuse me, sir, I'm a cop. Can you land your drone?" And you go, "Sure." And you just set it down on the top of a building somewhere or behind a tree. And you go, "Oh, yeah, okay." And they're like, "We need to check to see if you've got remote ID." And you go, "Yeah, good. I don't know where it is, sir." I mean, anytime you're lying to the police, you're at some risk of making your situation worse. But, yeah. What? No. Oh, Carbon Cage. Oh, Blunty. I know why you didn't click. No, not this one. The license is a contract that can only be enforced by entering it via complying. That's not how any of this works. What fantasy world, Carbon Cage? Oh, I hope I'm misunderstanding you. That's not how laws work. That's not how any of this works. Here's the thing, dude. On some spiritual level, like, maybe you're right. I don't know. I don't think so. But realistically, that statement that if you don't comply, you have not sort of consented to the contract. Therefore, you're not bound by it. Okay, well, good luck with that while they fine you. They're still going to fine you. You're not going to win that one.
If you don't know what a speed limit is, you still have to drive the speed limit.
It's the sovereign citizen argument, and here's the thing. I'm not. I don't think that I need to engage every sovereign citizen everywhere in their arguments about why they believe what they believe to make my point. So I'm going to just sidestep the question of whether what sovereign citizens believe is like real or not. You can have those beliefs that like you don't need a driver's license to travel on the road because you're not driving, you're traveling, and they don't, your corporate person versus your real person and all that stuff. You can have those beliefs, but then when you get pulled over for driving without a license, guess what? The cop is going to impound your car and put you in jail. So being spiritually right doesn't save you from the consequences of the government deciding to do mean things to you. All right. Oh, what else we got? Oh, we got a lot of questions. We got super chats. We got more super chats, Plenty? Just the one. We only have one more super chat. Let me get this super chat real quick, and then we'll go back. If anybody has more super chats they want to get in before the end of the stream, this would be the time to leave them. Ben Rate says, I'm building a Skyliner HD, Project 399 Super G, and Super G 10-inch for digital FPV. I'll be going 03 on both of the Super Gs and an air unit for the Skyliner, using Radix 2 flight controller and PDB, question mark. Blunty? what's the question here? All I see is a series of statements followed by a question mark. Is there another comment from Ben? I'm looking.
Nothing I see clarifying that.
No. Ben Wright, thank you for your $10 super chat. You'll have to leave another message clarifying your question. Because I just see... I see a
there
series
was a thumbs up emoji as well, but there is a question mark, so I'm not sure what the question mark is.
Oh, thumbs up? Question mark? Is it like, do I like his choices? Yeah. The Radix flight controller? Especially, yeah, especially with, digital OSD. Now, the big thing that the Radix flight controller had going for it was the graphical OSD that they had. Now that you're using digital, that doesn't really come into play anymore. I don't think there's as compelling a reason to use the Radix flight controller. The other big thing the Radix had going for it was the BMI 270 gyro, but everybody else uses that as well. So many of the unique things that made the Radix flight controller stand out are not as unique anymore. It's not a bad flight controller. Yeah, nothing wrong with it. Okay. Alrighty, we are caught up on Super Chats. Let's see here. Let's take some more recent questions. We'll take this one from the Discord. From Skirty Curtis. I just finished the Bardwell DIY kit. I had about 5 flights with a strange motor jitter, even when disarmed in Motor 3. At about my 5th pack, all 4 ACs were dead. Sorry for laughing. I'm laughing at your pain. I apologize. That was not where I thought the story was going to go. So you kind of surprised me. Could the flux cause a failure in all 4 ESCs? I mean, if you're using acidic flux instead of no clean flux, yeah. I that may not be the answer you want to hear. I have seen cases where acidic flux caused shorts and smoke. And I don't know why. I always use no clean flux and I've never had this issue, but I was working in somebody else's facility there in their shop, and they had bottles of regular flux. And so I was just using it like I always do, just glob it on there. And then sometimes when I would plug the quadcopter in the very first time after finishing the build, poof, we get this big poof of smoke. And it didn't damage anything as far as I could tell, but I was like, oh crap, what was that? And I think it was the flux burning off. So if you were using large amounts of regular acidic flux instead of no clean flux, it's plausible that the flux would cause a failure.
You said it's H20 water-soluble flux. He said it's not labeled as no clean. I'm not familiar with that one.
So if it doesn't say no clean, then like here's the thing. I don't want to just kind of like, gotcha. It's your fault. Ha ha. Because I've seen these ESCs die for no freaking reason. So like what I would do is I would go to Get FPV and I would say, hey, Get FPV, I had a problem with this ESC from the moment I plugged it in. And then like on the 5th flight, it just died for no reason. Don't mention the flux. If they ask you about the flux, be honest, but don't mention the flux. And then just be like, hey, what can you do for me? Maybe they'll send you a new ESC. And then either clean the flux off or use no clean flux. Okay. Nobody show Get FPV this segment of my stream. Daniel Harmon says, no power to your Vista. Is it dead or is the flight controller not supplying power? How to test? Multimeter. You need a multimeter. That's how. Get out your multimeter and measure voltage. If you don't, and sometimes, and Daniel Harmon, I don't know if this is you, but sometimes when I say this to people, they go, I don't have a multimeter. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess we're done here. Right? I don't know. We're at a dead end. No, get a multimeter. Get a multimeter. You need a multimeter to work with electronics. So if you don't have one, you got to get one. They're not that expensive.
Do you have one of those on your website for recommendations?
Definitely. I can go to fpvknowitall.com and go to must have tools, I believe is where that's going to be. Multimeter. I still use the Innova 3320 to this day. And there have been times when I've thought, maybe I should buy a Fluke, because they sure are nice. And I never have. I just keep using that Innova 3320. Yeah, I'm not going to spend $200 on a Fluke multimeter. What kind of bougie asshole do you think I am? No.
Yeah, if you don't know you need a Fluke, you probably don't need a Fluke.
I mean, they're nice. They're very nice to use. It's like...
Also, Field Piece is great, too. Yeah.
Field Piece? What is that?
I know that from HVAC. Field Piece is great.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I bet.
They have like, so like that meter there, the top of it has like a snap-in piece, so you can buy clamps that you can snap into the top, and like you can do extensions from it, and it's like super versatile. They have like wireless sensors too that you can get to your phone and all kinds of fancy stuff.
It's almost as expensive as a Fluke. Wow. Temperature. Okay. Yeah. What I like about the Fluke is that it has an almost analog style readout here. So like the old analog multimeters, you could watch the needle move, and you get a kind of a sense of that you don't get with digital readout. And I like on the Flukes that they have this little readout at the bottom that acts like that. But I'm not paying $200 for a Fluke. Sorry. Not going to happen. Phantom FPV, good to see you, sir. I am very well. Long time no talk. Long time no talk. I'm going to be out in your neck of the woods next week. Maybe we'll hook up. Phantom says, buy it. Does he mean the Fluke? Yeah, garter rotor. Yeah. They're really nice, but I still just use that old Innova. It still gets the job done. I'm dumb and burned my multimeter the other day, says Flexo3D. I should pay more attention to what I'm doing. Hopefully not permanently, right, Flexo? You just like blew the fuse, right? Yeah.
I think one side's not fused, right? It depends on the multimeter, but if you don't, if you like try to measure amperage or whatever with the wrong side, then I think you can blow the internals of the multimeter because you don't put it on the fused leads.
I mean, I guess that's possible. I don't know. I haven't blown mine yet, thank goodness. They're only like $15 though. I mean, no excuse to not have one. And even the cheap ones are reasonably accurate for what we're doing. They're fine. Daniel Harmon. Oh, we got a lot of questions from Daniel Harmon today, but I'm just picking the questions that look interesting to me and then reading the name. So Daniel, I guess you're asking good questions. Good on you, dude. Did the new iFlight Cruiser with GLS included that JB reviewed recently come with GPS Rescue failsafe setup? No. iFlight does not ship any of their bind and flies with GPS Rescue enabled. They leave it to you to turn GPS Rescue on. Betaflight GPS Rescue is not really reliable enough that you would want someone to just trust it blindly. Like with DJI, they have an incredibly sophisticated return to home rescue system, and you just assume that it's working correctly. Betaflight cannot deliver that level of confidence. So they ship with it disabled, and you need to turn it on. Todd Burke wants to know, why isn't there an inline battery connector that keeps a drone from draining down the battery when it's stuck in a tree? And the answer to that, Blunty, have we had this question before? I know we have.
Yep. Yeah, it's on the Clips channel, I believe.
Oh, well, okay. Is it up right now?
I think so.
I'm going to go to Joshua Bardwell Livestream clips.
It's like remote disconnect or something like that. It's not too old.
Let's see here.
Yeah, top right.
Here we go. Why aren't there any remote battery disconnects for FPV drones? It's a 5-minute clip. I'm not going to play the whole clip, but you can check that out over on the Joshua Bardwell Livestream Clips channel. The short answer is that quadcopters pull a lot of current. They pull between, a lot of them minimum like 30 amps peak. And for racing drones, you could pull 60, 80, 100 or more amps. And the short version is that a switch that can switch 100 amps at a time is big and heavy and just unwieldy and impossible to put on a little multi-rotor. Like if you had a 20-pound octocopter, maybe it would make sense to put a relay on it that could switch that, but not on the littler quads. It's not like you could just get a little DC switch, and because that thing would burn out under the current that it has to switch. Okay. Reality asks, I just built my first quad and it's a dead cat. Anything I should be worried about compared to flying an X-frame in liftoff? No. The difference between a dead cat and an X-frame is pretty small, and when you go from liftoff to the real world, there's a fair amount of difference. So the extremely subtle difference between an X-frame and a dead cat is going to be more than outweighed by the relatively large difference between a simulator and reality. You're not going to notice any difference. But why not a mechanical switch that would put a metal piece from in between? You're describing a relay or a solenoid. That's what you're describing. The switch wouldn't have to switch that many amps because you would be stationary and not running. But the switch mechanism would have to carry the current. There are inside the switch, there are going to be two pieces of metal. And those two pieces of metal will have to separate and come together to make and break the connection. And the current that the motors are pulling has to flow through that mechanism, whatever form it takes. And that is when that has to carry 100 amps, that gets to be big and heavy. I mean, if you're trying to argue that it's not just the arcing of switching while there is high current, which is an additional problem, it's the need to have a switch mechanism that can carry 100 plus amps. All right. Ghost Branch FPV. Good to see you, Ghost Branch. Always see Ghost Branch in the Discord, not always in the comments. Have DJI ever improved on the dynamic range of the O3 camera, or is it still as bad as it was when it launched? I don't think that they've improved it, not the dynamic range. I've heard some people say that they've improved the low light sensitivity. Is anybody flying with the O3 on the daily? Can you comment on whether the dynamic range has improved? I actually still fly the Vistas mostly. I only have one quad with the O3 in it. Why not remote enable the smoke stopper switch? A smoke stopper maxes out at 2 amps. A smoke stopper that could switch 100 plus amps would be a solenoid or something like that. It would be much bigger and heavier. There's no way around this, guys. You're not going to I don't know.
The problem is you start to get into layers of MOSFETs if you try to do some kind of bridging thing where you're like trying to carry low current and then switch to the high current when you don't need the high current and do
that's
fancy
a relay.
weirds. Yeah.
You've invented a relay. Congratulations.
No, what they're trying to do though is control the low side of the relay with another FET. That's my understanding of the situation. And then you get one cut off. You
Sure.
don't get to cut it back on. You only pass through the current when you're ready to pass through the current to kill it. But it's like, it's very convoluted because if you don't have contact anymore, you can't do it. There's no way to fail-safe that. You're running through a different, you know what I mean? There's 18 different reasons why that doesn't really make any sense. So
Yeah. Yeah. You think they could do it if they only needed to switch it off and not on?
yeah, but what's the practicality of that? How much equipment do you still need
Well,
a
and
relay?
how often do you end up in a tree? Right? So we've got this failure point, we've got this additional complexity and additional weight, and then like one flight out of 100 you end up in a tree and you're like, woo, I saved a $25 battery, yay. Like, just let the battery die and suck it up and eat the battery. Sorry. I mean, for a $20 or $25 battery anyway. What if you used a servo to unplug an XT60? How big of a servo would you need to have enough force to unplug an XT60? If it's trying to be clever. When you're trying to be clever, when everybody says that this problem doesn't have a good solution, and then you try to be clever, there's two possibilities. One is that you're about to invent something that no one's ever invented before and prove everybody wrong. And the other is that you just don't understand the reasons why it doesn't work. And one of the things that frustrates the hell out of me is people who, and I'm not pointing a finger at anybody in the chat. I'm just sort of pontificating. But one of the things that frustrates the hell out of me is people who try to come up with the brilliant solution that no one ever thought of before they take the time to understand all of the reasons why the solutions people have tried before haven't worked. Because what usually ends up happening is they end up reinventing the wheel, going down a path that doesn't work, and everybody's like, hey, what you're doing isn't going to work. And here's why. We tried that. And they're like, oh, la, 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 I'm gonna be the brilliant one who proves everybody wrong. And sometimes you are. There are people in the world who were like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. And everybody was like, you can't do that. It doesn't work. And they were like, F you. And then, they invent something brilliant. But I think that far more often when someone invents something brilliant that no one ever did before, they also have a deep understanding of the things that didn't work and why they don't work, so they can focus their energy on finding something that does work. And when somebody's like, I want to do this thing, and everybody's like, well, here's why that doesn't work. And they're like, no, but don't you see? I am brilliant. I know the answer. Like, take 5 minutes and show me that you understand why what I said, it doesn't work. And then let's invent something brilliant that no one's ever thought of before. We got any comment on the dynamic range? Plenty. Has it gotten better? Is anybody talking about that?
Not really. Everybody's bitching about this situation.
We just need a servo with a scalpel blade that chops the positive wire. That'll do it. Got it. That's the solution. Remote disconnect. It is an interesting question. What if you only need to disconnect? You don't need to reconnect. You want a remote disconnect. Like, what if you were just willing to chop the wire?
Yeah, but practically, who would produce that product?
An explosive fuse that blows up the XT60. Bloody, what if you... Okay, now I'm just getting silly. What if you had a spring-loaded XT60? Okay, can you picture it? You press it together and you clip it so that it's holding the spring tension. And then somehow, when you want to disconnect, you like flick that thing off and the spring pushes the XT60 apart.
Yeah, and that mechanism goes off while in flight, and then...
No, that would never happen. That would never happen. Okay. How are we doing on Super Chats? We got a couple Super Chats here. Phantom FPV, thanks for $10. I'll have a $10 beer. I'll have more than one beer for $10. I don't know where you're drinking. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the donation. Super Adjustable, thank you for a $10 super chat. I was flying my Caddx Nebula Pro on my Dead Cat Apex and video cut out, causing a crash. No damage. What would cause the video to my goggles to crap out? Hey, Blunty, you think this is that WTFOS bug?
Could be. It's definitely an option. So make sure you've updated WTFOS because there have been some blackouts.
Yeah, so Super Adjustable, if you lost video, but your goggle user interface kept working as normal, you just lost video, then that's not what I'm about to tell you about. There is a rare bug in WTFOS that causes the user interface to reset. Like literally the whole user interface just goes blank and resets. And it causes about a 5 or 10 second blackout. But this is not just lost video. It's the entire UI of the goggles goes away for 5 or 10 seconds and then comes back. And if you have rooted goggles and WTFOS, you may have run into this bug. Super Adjustable says completely black in the goggles. There you go. That could be it. So Super Adjustable, if you have rooted the goggles, you need to go to the WTFOS website and make sure you update to the latest. There is a rare bug that may be affecting you that causes this to happen. And it's fixed.
Mad Max points out the other known blackout bug. He said, I had a blackout and goggles went into DJI drone mode, had to use butter to get it back, settings saved. So that's I believe that is the 1.02 bug. And that bug was fixed by DJI in 1.02.0001 and
Is that the one
firmwares.
Where you run the battery all the way down and it goes into drone mode and won't come out?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it goes under a certain voltage for whatever reason, it'll kick into drone mode, and it can do it randomly. It seems like sometimes.
So again, you just need to be on the latest firmware, and that fixes that.
Yes.
Jeremy Pierce Sinia, thank you for a $2 super chat. Would I ever use a JSON file in Betaflight? No. What Jeremy's asking about is in Betaflight. I better use a real flight controller. Hold on. What he's talking about is if you go to, where is it? If you go to, did they get rid of this, Blunty? The save firmware button? Did they get rid of it finally?
It's under presets now, right?
No, that's different.
Right?
That's actually a CLI dump. That's good. That doesn't make a JSON file.
The old one's gone to replace, and it's replaced by that. That's my understanding.
Thank God. So there used to be a button, I think it was in the setup tab, that was save backup or save configuration, and it made a JSON file, and it was worthless. Don't use it. You would always want to do a CLI dump. Nowadays, you can go to presets and do save backup, and it creates an actual CLI dump, and that's what you want. So no, you would not use a JSON file. The only place you would theoretically potentially use a JSON file is the VTX tables are sometimes conveyed as JSON files. And if you did load from file here, it would load a JSON file. But most people who are loading a VTX table are going to do it from the presets tab. So in short, the answer is mostly no, you would not do that. Alrighty, we got about 10 minutes left in the stream. Aaron Ciotti is going to be streaming at 10 o'clock, and he's going to start posting the link to his stream, which you guys can go watch when I get off the air. But not yet. Not yet. Ooh, I like this question from Nick FPV. I'm going to jump on it. I just happened to notice it. Is ELRS dynamic output power reliable? Mostly, yeah. Like, theoretically, if you fly behind an obstacle, you could theoretically fail-safe before it pumps the power. So if you know you're going to be flying, if you're like flying long range and you just fly slowly out and slowly back, you're fine. The dynamic's going to be fine. If you're flying in an environment like a bando where theoretically you might suddenly fly behind an elevator shaft and all of a sudden you've got a ton of additional loss, then maybe I would want to lock at 1 watt instead of using dynamic. If I were to run 1 watt power output, would it be better to have the XT30 on the back of the module plugged in? That depends on your radio. Some radios are not capable of delivering 1 watt's worth of power, whatever it's trying to pull, to the module bay. And in that case, you definitely would want to use the XT30. Bear in mind that there are some Radiomaster Ranger modules that have defective XT30s and will fry. I think they fry the radio, don't they, Blunty?
Yeah, that's correct. If you plug in the XT30 to the module, it will fry the radio through the pins in the module, I think. So
definitely, if you have a Rev 1 Radiomaster Ranger, they've put out replacements for this. Don't use the XT30, though. If you have other modules, it's fine. I don't think it's a downside to use the XT30 in most cases. It just means you're pulling from a different battery. And some radios can handle it, no problem. Is this brilliant or stupid? Okay. I am intrigued. Except I can't click this link from this comment.
It's right up, scroll up a little bit in the Discord. He's got that link there.
Okay, I'll grab that. Oh, how to get your... Which one is it? FT Aviator? Okay.
Yeah, there you
go. Brilliant or stupid? Brilliant or stupid? Brilliant, the wheel is spinning. Presenting the FT Aviator drone controller. Command the sky with ease. With the intuitive FT Aviator, DJI drone hobbyists and professionals can fly complex maneuvers within no time. Oh! And it's really fun. Okay. Is it a joystick? It is intuitive and easy to use. The FT Aviator is a durable premium-grade drone controller with a quick and easy setup. With a shorter learning curve than traditional controllers, it provides the ability to master complex maneuvers faster. The FT Aviator drone controller precisely enables 4 degrees of freedom. Forward, backward, left and right, and up and down. Natural and cognitive translation of hand-to-device movement. Is it? Oh, it's like a motion sensor. It's a motion sensor. So here's what's stupid about this. Is it, is that what it is, Blunty? You hold it in the sky, in the air, and it like is like a Wii nunchuck or something? It's not just a joystick, is it?
I'm not 100% sure. It's not clear to me.
Can we see anyone using it? Quick start guide. Let's look at the quick start guide. Charge the FT Aviator. Set up the FT Aviator. Blah, 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 blah. Thumb down, trigger out. No, we can't actually. So my read is that this is like motion control. It's got a gyro in it. Yeah, twist left, yaw left. You're just holding it in the air. And the thing is, they're talking about precision, but anytime you have motion controls, you don't have as much precision as you do when you have a joystick. Because you have to just hold your hand steady in the space, in the air, which doesn't work as well. Like, are you saying that the whole time I'm flying, I have to hold this thing out? And if I move my hand at all, my drone just like flips out? Oh. No, this is... I'd much rather have a joystick.
There's a video on the Discord if you want to look at it.
Oh my God, I can't wait. An in-depth look at the FT Aviator drone controller. Okay, I don't want to play music.
Welcome to Fluidity. I'm really excited to share the FT Aviator with you. It's an amazing drone flight controller that really makes drone flight control incredibly intuitive, almost a subconscious act. I can control all 4 primary axes of the drone with a movement of up and down of my thumb, and then with a stick, forward, aft, left, right, and then twisting the stick.
I'm sorry. You don't have to hold the base though, right?
And then with my non-dominant hand, you can be a righty or lefty with this thing.
I mean, you would have to, right? To do the moves.
It's you only have one of them. Wait, this is
tilt axis, and then we also have.
It's a joystick, but it's a joystick without a table. So we make you hold the joystick. So what you guys are going to want to do is you're going to want to grip the joystick like this, okay? You want to grip it firmly, and then you're going to come underneath with a cupped hand, and you're going to just cradle the base of the joystick. And then you're going to just use natural and intuitive motion.
The ability to start and stop video, take photographs, toggle through really important.
I have to hold it. I was so much more impressed when I thought it was motion control.
Accessed features of I'm making called cross coupling with a traditional of a left yaw drift, and then with your right thumb, if you're moving forward, you oftentimes will have a little bit of a trend.
Do you know how you avoid cross coupling? You don't suck as a pilot. You just learned to fly. So you're not cross-coupling.
Right with your thumb, that means you're going forward and a little bit of a drift to the right. It results in lack of precision. And with the Fluidity FTV Mavic Series radio.
Okay, hang on. Now, Siati, I know it's 10 o'clock, but there's one more video I want to look
Ken
at.
And Kelly. And
apparently Ken Herron has a review of this thing. We're not going to watch all 16 minutes of it, but
we are here to review
let's see what Ken has to say.
FT Aviator. Going to be fun. We're going to hook it up to the Phantom 4 Pro 2.0, so we hope that you'll stick around.
Hey! It really seems cheaply made. It doesn't look like it's.
Well, here it is.
Finish top to bottom right now.
Well, the first thing, it kind of looks like a foot.
Oh.
You can walk it across the table if you want. You can do the moonwalk.
Okay, Ken.
For whatever drone you hook it in, so
that when controlling that from that.
I'm going to bracket this in place.
You can bracket
to the table.
Wait.
Link in description. Of course, there's a thread on the bottom of here. Typical camera tripod thread.
I'm going to tripod mount it.
Stick that on there like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
But.
Put that on there. Well, there we go.
Now it's
nice.
I have to hold the phone. I can use my other hand for all the controls over here if I want.
So I'm gonna clamp it to the table, but then I also still have to reach over and cradle it because they put these buttons here on the assumption that I won't be clamping it.
We're ready to aviate.
Can you play Space Invaders with that?
And you hook it the controller because this has an app. All over again.
We gonna fly?
Cool, my grandkids. Tommy always knows.
I gotta have to use this fancy schmancy.
Okay, it's still not working.
So you have to connect this to this. This is connected to that.
Now the sun is going down.
Aviator is connected via Bluetooth. There we go.
Okay. Oh, so we're going Bluetooth through the phone. Is it working yet?
We found it.
Okay, they finally got it working.
They got it. Not work in sport mode. And
it will not work in sport mode.
I see.
Do you see how Ken has to reach over and cradle it even though it's clamped to the table? So that's useless.
Now it's got speed modes over here. I think if you change this, it will do all the actions faster. Yes.
Oh, so precise. Look at the freaking delay. Look at the delay.
It
Jeez.
has some intermittent.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so that's just silly. Alrighty. Thank you for sharing that. That's a silly product that no one should buy. We got any more super chats? Let's get these super chats, then I'll let Ciati do his stream. Thank you for a $5 super chat. One Justin. I was wondering if I should get 2040 kV motors for 6S. I can also go with Ethics V5s. The other option is RC and Power V4. So, bro, if you are confused about whether to get Ethics V5s or RC and Power V4s, then I don't think you know what you want out of your motor. And I mean that with the love of Jesus. I don't mean that like to be insulting or derogatory, but it's like if you said to me, I'm thinking about buying a car and I'm not sure if I want to get a Ford F-150 or a Miata. Those two things are so different that like you gotta narrow down what you want from your motor. The Ethics V5 is a intentionally less responsive, lower powered, like smoother, if you will, motor. The RCN Power V4 is a balls out powerful motor, and like so. And 2040 kV is pretty high kV for 6S, although not out of like not unusably high. So I think you got to figure out what you want from a motor before you decide whether you want the Ethics V5s or an RCN Power V4, because those are very, very different motors. Yeah. Philly Style FPV says stripped screws on the Nebula Pro. Any fixing it? No. I mean, can you get a spare case for a Nebula Pro? I'm not even sure. Find a 3D printed mount, maybe that will hold it, or stick it in place. What do you think of Midwest Custom? Worth it? I have no Midwest Custom drones. I have no opinion about them, really, to be honest. Neither good nor bad. I mean, they're a custom drone builder. Oof. Man, you really got to want what they're selling, because these are ultra premium prices. I'm not saying they're completely unreasonable. These guys probably put a lot of manual work into their builds, and time is money. But you really got to want what they're selling to pay $870 for an Apex. So to me, no, not worth it. There's no world in which, I mean, that's not a comment on these builds. It's just a comment on I would just build it myself. And I don't put that much. That's the other thing, is I don't put really any stake in us. Jesus Christ. I thought this was wire loom. For $800, give me some freaking wire loom and not just some zip ties. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Give me wire loom for $800. Give me a break. I don't even like wire loom. So I think aesthetics on quads are kind of dumb. Like, because you're just going to smash it and destroy it. And I don't know why you would care about making it look nice unless it's just going to sit on a shelf. See, here's wire loom. You guys know how to do wire loom. Okay, great. So I would never pay extra for aesthetics. I just want a quad that flies good and is durable. But if you love aesthetics, I don't know. I don't want to fall into the trap of going, that price is ridiculous, which people say that about a lot of quads that I know people put hours of work into, and they deserve to be compensated for their time. But I wouldn't pay extra for what you're paying for out of these builds, which is, somewhat aesthetics. So there you go. Okay. That is going to do it for the stream. Thank you guys so much. Siadi, thanks for letting me go long. Have a great stream, everybody. Siadi, where's that comment, buddy? Let me put it up for everybody to see. Let me put that comment up so everybody can. Where's the link? Here we go. Siadi is going to be finishing the Happy Model 7 Express Alloys walk snail build and a Q&A. Thank you guys so much for coming out, and that is going to do it for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow for the news at 6 p.m.